Well, this is a massive Times Now story that we are getting for you minute by minute updates, a deep dive into the recommendations by the high-level committee on simultaneous elections, which have been chaired by Shri Ram Nath Kovind. He is, of course, the former President of India. He's met the Honorable President of India, Droupadi Murmu, at Rashtrapati Bhavan earlier in the day and has submitted its extensive report. Now, this report comprises of 18,626 pages, and it is an outcome of the extensive consultations with all the stakeholders, experts, as well as research work of about 191 days since its constitution on the 2nd of September 2023. Let me go across to our legal editor, Harish Nair, who's joining us. Of course, it's an extensive report. Harish, however, break it down for us. How will there be a three-tier simultaneous election which is being suggested by this panel?
Yes, that's right, Meghna. A big development as far as the debate, the raging debate on the need for one nation, one poll is required. Now the ball has set rolling with an extensive detailed report submitted by the government-constituted Kovind panel to President Droupadi Murmu, and it has very significantly set the ball rolling. And the rollout of the one nation, one poll, that is synchronized election for Lok Sabha, assembly elections, and panchayat and municipalities all have been mooted. A three-tier election has been mooted from 2029. And in fact, Meghna, the advantages the Kovind panel sees is that it saves public funds. Number two, reduces the burden on administration and security forces. Number three, the government can focus more on implementation of welfare measures. Number three, more time can be spent on administrative measures rather than constant electioneering. So these are the four grounds cited by the Kovind panel in its report submitted to the President, and very, very significant recommendations have been made, like in fact it has laid down a framework, a roadmap on how to start with this one nation, one poll concept. It's a very complicated concept. That is why it said that let us start from 2029 and 2020, not 2024, as a lot of groundwork is required, like amendments to the constitution by adding one chapter on one nation, one poll in the chapter 15 which deals with elections. That is number one, Meghna. Number two, big amendments in the Representation of People's Act which deals with elections. And number four, amendments in the rules and procedures for Lok Sabha, rules and procedure for state assemblies. All these are required. And in the chapter pertaining to one nation, one poll, there will be different sub-chapters like simultaneous polls, sustainability of simultaneous polls, and a common electoral roll for Lok Sabha election, assembly election, panchayat election, and municipality election. So, and also regarding the framework of implementation, the Commission says that, the Kovind panel says that there will be requirement to prepone or postpone in fact, tenure or state assembly elections, and also tenure of the state assemblies for synchronization. For example, Meghna, if the tenure of a state assembly ends before the Lok Sabha election of 2029, the tenure of that...
That's a very significant point, Harish. We're going to come back and discuss more of that as to which are the states whose tenures are likely to be curtailed, which are the states where the tenure may have to be extended in order to ensure that there is synchronization. But let me also go across to Swati. Now, Times Now has managed to access this entire One India, One Poll panel report as well. Swati, important point for us to point out that some of them are going to be constitutional amendments which are going to be required as well. Get us some of the salient features.
Right, absolutely. So 8 volumes in this report, over 18,000 pages, and recommendations deal with not just simultaneous elections but also the logistical arrangements and like Harish mentioned, constitutional amendments that will be required. The committee recommends that in the first stage, simultaneous elections to the House of the People, that is Lok Sabha, and the state legislative assemblies be held. In the second stage, elections to municipalities and panchayats will be synchronized with House of People and the assemblies in such a way that municipalities and panchayat elections are held within 100 days of holding of elections of Lok Sabha and the assembly elections. So this deals with simultaneous elections in 2 stages: Lok Sabha, assembly, municipalities and panchayat. Then in case of a hung house, no no confidence motion or any such event, fresh elections may be held to constitute the new house. Where fresh elections are held for the House of the People, the tenure of the House of the People will only for the unexpired term of the immediately preceding full term of the House of the People, and the expiration of this period shall operate as a dissolution of the House. As far as assemblies are concerned, such new legislative assemblies, unless sooner dissolved, shall continue up to the end of the full term of the House of the People. Let me quickly also take you through the point that talks about the amendment. Constitution Amendment Bill would need to be introduced in the Parliament, amending Article 83, which is duration of Houses of Parliament, and Article 172, duration of state legislatures. This constitutional amendment will not need ratification by the states. It also talks about the logistical arrangements for the conduct of simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha, to the assemblies, and the Election Commission of India may draw a plan as far as government of equipment such as EVMs and VVPATs and deployment of polling personnel and security forces are concerned. Back to you.
All right, many thanks for that, Swati. Let me in fact take this across once again to Harish Nair, legal editor. Harish, one very interesting recommendation that's come from this particular panel is what might happen in the event that the Legislative Assembly or the Parliament or the elected government does no longer enjoy the confidence of the rest of the MLAs. Now, basically, there is a recommendation of a formation of a unity government comprising all political parties for the period before an election can actually be called. That's quite an interesting recommendation made in this report. Take us through that as well, Harish.
Yes, that's right, Siddharth. The Kovind panel, just like the Law Commission, has also visualized situations where a government may fall suddenly after no confidence voting, and there could be a hung assembly, or even in the central level of the Parliament. So then, how is synchronized election possible the next time? So every effort should be made to synchronize elections. So one of the steps suggested, as you rightly said, Siddharth, is that in case the government falls due to no confidence, or if there is a hung house, the Kovind panel recommends constitution of a unity government with representatives from various political parties, and most likely today times it will not be possible. So in case the unity government formula does not work, recommend holding fresh elections for only for the remainder of the term of the House. That is very interesting, because only then once again there can be synchronized elections. Otherwise, if there is a hung assembly and the government falls, if an immediate election has to be held, there won't be synchronized election anymore. The entire setup will collapse. So, keeping this fact in the mind, the recommendation says, in case the unity government formula does not work, recommend holding fresh elections just for the remainder of the term of the House, so that once again there can be synchronized elections. And Siddharth, this fact has been considered even while the Kovind panel has given the recommendation for synchronized polls, saying that in several instances the tenure of a state assembly may end much before the Lok Sabha election. So in that case, the constitution amendment must be made to ensure that the tenure of that particular state assembly is extended, and there can be synchronized elections along with Lok Sabha. And in case where the tenure extends beyond the Lok Sabha elections, there should be amendment wherein these assemblies voluntarily decide that the tenure of that particular assembly is curtailed, and again, once again, to synchronize with Lok Sabha elections. So a lot of efforts needs to be undertaken to ensure synchronized elections for Lok Sabha, State Assembly, Panchayat and municipal corporations, and that is why the Commission is saying that lot of groundwork is required. This is not possible to roll out one nation, one poll from 2024. So that is why we are recommending rollout of one nation, one poll, simultaneous poll, synchronized poll from 2029, because one of the biggest exercise will be amendments to the Constitution by adding a chapter on one nation, one poll in chapter 15 of the Constitution, which deals with elections. Number 2, amendments in the Representation of People's Act. Number
Correct.
3, amendments in the rules and procedures of Lok Sabha, rules and procedures of state assemblies also. Siddharth, back to you.
So, Harish, there are as many as 18 constitutional amendments that have been recommended in this particular report. It's a very comprehensive report. Stay with us. We also have Mr. Udit Raj of the Congress Party joining us. Mr. Udit Raj, good morning to you. A very comprehensive list of recommendations with respect to holding simultaneous elections, preferably from 2029 onwards, has now been submitted to the President of India by the former President, Mr. Ram Nath Kovind. Your response on this report, sir?
we totally reject this report, and it is completely against the spirit of the Constitution. Our Constitution is a parliamentary system. It's not a presidential system. In a way, what this report says that it's going for a presidential system where the entire power will rest in one person, and diversity in the country, regional imbalances will not be addressed. And why did we opt for parliamentary system was to integrate or to have say of our regional forces.
Okay.
And diversities that are being represented and that are being expressed through parliamentary system. But in this system, what happened is that it will be...
You apprehend that this might actually threaten the federal structure of our polity. Many thanks for that, Mr. Udit Raj. Mr. Mohammad Tausif Rahman also joins us from the Trinamool Congress. The Trinamool Congress has taken a position against the idea of one nation, one poll, but a comprehensive list of recommendations going out. Mr. Rahman, will your party now study these recommendations, or have you arrived at a predetermined conclusion that you will oppose this no matter what?
No, I think you must first get my name correct.
Yes.
It's not Rahman, it is Tausif Ahmad Khan.
Tausif Ahmad Khan,
now,
sir, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes. Now, you see, this proposal is absolutely against the spirit of the Constitution. Our country is a union of states. It has a federal structure, and it is a multi-party parliamentarian system, unlike what we see in other countries where we have presidential system. So the framers of our constitution has already studied the different constitution. For example, the American Constitution, which has a presidential form of government. But in India, we have a union of different states. So states also enjoy certain leverage, certain freedom, and they are allowed to have an identity of themselves. Now, this one nation and one election is not feasible at all. It is absolutely against the ethos of the Constitution. It will attack the parliamentary federalism that we have in our country.
All right.
And it seems to be beneficial, in a way to the ruling dispensation currently. But even if regardless of who is in the power, they cannot go and violate the Constitution. They cannot go and change the ethos of the Constitution. The system is against the Constitution, and therefore it will be vehemently protested against.